Hello, and welcome back to my podcast, Awaken with Me, focused on all things health and wellness. We will discuss topics like implementing an anti-inflammatory diet, self-care routines, mindfulness, and creating better living habits. Hi there, and welcome back to Awaken with Me. Today's guest is Lauren Wells. She is known as the Gut Health Bestie from New York City. She's a certified digestive health coach, fitness trainer, and intuitive healer, helping women have better gut health, balanced hormones, and aligned vibrating energy with chakra alignment. She is tech founders and CEO of Hervival, the first all-in-one holistic wellness, fitness, and spirituality app for women of color, providing workshops, classes, resources, and tools to support their wellness and self-care journey on the go. Her genius zone is bridging the gap between modern health claims with ancestral spiritual and wellness wisdom, but always keep it holistic, realistic, and simplistic. Lauren, thank you so much for joining our podcast today. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, so let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came into coaching.
I actually always knew like I was a healer or some sort. I always wanted to help people. I went to school originally to be a nurse, and how I started getting into the realm of being, a gut health coach, focusing on digestion and health coaching and fitness. Uh, as I started to I actually enrolled into the Navy back in 2010, and I had to get physically active after going to college. You get all the good grades, you do all the things, and then I realized like my job, I never even made more than $30,000, and I'm like, this cannot be it. I had like a midlife crisis in my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, something has to change. I have to figure out something else. This is not what I want to do. Um, you know, I don't know what to do with my student loans, and then especially living in New York City, I'm like, I'll never be able to make it here. So I end up enlisting to the Navy. That's how I started getting into fitness. I was not physically active at all before, and when I had to start training, I was like, okay, I got to start going to the gym. Then people started from my job started going to the gym with me and calling me their trainer because I always knew the body, you know, for the most part. So once I kind of learned how to work out and what body parts, muscle groups, and stuff, I was, pretty good at it. People saw the difference. Long story short, I ended up getting kicked out of the Navy. I injured my leg. I had accidentally had a second-degree burn while I was cooking, and a pot of boiling water slipped, and I ended up getting kicked out. So here I am going back to work. I used to work with adults who had mental disabilities, and as I was getting back in the field, I still had that same feeling and that same tug that I need to do something more than this. So I was still working out. The gym ended up becoming my new lifestyle. And long story short, I finally started realizing, the signs that sometimes are right in front of our face, like for people calling me their trainer. And I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I remember I had a mentor that said, find something that you love to do that you'll do for free, but get paid to do it. I was going to the gym helping people with their workouts. So I ended up getting certified as a fitness trainer. And then that just started opening the door. I realized, there was more than just fitness. In that time,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having thyroid problems a little bit before I started being a trainer. I ended up having thyroid problems and lost weight. I didn't know what was happening to my body. I didn't quite know how to eat, any of that. So as I started getting into a holistic nutrition and all of those things, I was able to heal my thyroid issues with hyperthyroidism naturally, no medication. As I became a fitness trainer, I'm up on my feet. I used to have to be there with clients till 6 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't get home till 11 o'clock at night. And then I started to have chronic pain, and I was confused because I'm like, okay, I'm healthy now. Like I work out, I got two abs. Like what's going on? And end up, long story short, being diagnosed with two autoimmunes. It took over 3 years of time to figure it out. But I ended up being diagnosed with Rayner's and Sjogren's disease syndrome. And what I realized was it's more than just the gym. There's a lot more to counting the calories. And I realized I had to start taking a holistic approach. I also had a family member who was very close to me that died at a very young age, and seeing him with tubes down his nose. And, he ate healthy from what we see, like, sugar free diets, all that stuff, because that is as much as I knew about eating healthy, right? If you gain weight, you need to go on a diet, you go on sugar free, all those things. So seeing that, and then here I am in front of a doctor being given a prescription for the rest of my life, I realized that there is a lot more to health that I don't realize. So I started to actually, dig deeper, started to educate myself, started to study herbs, got a certification in that, started getting in gut health and holistic nutrition. I just was very eager to seek knowledge. And when I started to learn these things and heal myself, of course, I started to implement that and share with my clients, because it's so much more than just, you work out and eat healthy. And that started to be the puzzle pieces into my journey as well as in my coaching with my clients.
Can you tell us a little bit about more about your because I was recently diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and I know from research I've been doing, it takes upwards of 12 years many
Mhm.
times for people to become diagnosed. So can you tell us a little bit about your process of becoming diagnosed?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It does quite take some time. I was having a lot of signs and symptoms, but you just think it's normal, or you just, because you don't know, and the doctor say, "Oh, you're young and you're healthy," you don't realize it took it.
Mm-hmm.
It took until I already almost healed my the hypothyroidism for them to even think and ask to take a diagnosis. And then, as Black women, a lot of the doctors, it's been books and stories and write ups about this, as far as women being seen and heard in the medical facility. Um, they're just not really, they don't, for one, totally get and gather and understand our bodies enough, and not really hearing and sharing, like, the the symptoms that you're having. So, like, because now that I know what I know, I'm like, why would they not automatically check my thyroids? What was going on? Like, my hair was falling out.
Mm-hmm.
I had excessive body acne. I remember losing like 19 pounds out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I was like, what is going on? Like, I got like
Mm-hmm.
super skinny and stuff. So it did take a while. It took from having, gut issues. I was constipated. I used to have dry mouth, pains, aches, um, and you know doctors just couldn't quite figure it out. It definitely took a while. What made me
Mm-hmm.
finally get a diagnosis was when I did start having the pain. Sometimes when you start and I want to share this for people who are on this journey, and then you start actually pulling out the toxic things that's in your diet, and you start cleansing and detoxing. It took for me to start doing that, where the symptoms actually started to really raise. Because it's kind of like, when let's say if someone's on drugs or something, and you do a 12-step program, you get worse before you get better, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
I started to actually cleanse and detox, all the symptoms started to come. I didn't have those chronic pains, and to make me kind of say, like, what is going on? I can't feel my toes. My hands hurt.
Yeah.
I had cold hands, cold feet. It's because my body was so suppressed from, my poor eating habits and not being in tune with my body. I never did any kind of cleanses or detox. It was like my alarm systems that will go off for me to feel the symptoms, to know what's going on, was off. So when you start cleansing your
Mm-hmm.
gut, it's like you're rewiring for your alarm system to start working. So when I started to cleanse and detox, my hormones started to get balanced, and now the symptoms surface. So that's a bit of like, what was my experience and what happens for anyone who, you could have been carrying, the antibodies of some of these autoimmune diseases and not realizing or knowing it until maybe you probably started to cleanse or detox or try to get healthier, and sometimes they surface.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting, your experience and your journey with that. So how did you go go about I know you said you went and you got certification. So did the healing come after or during the whole process of getting certification? Like how did you go about helping yourself?
Yeah. So the first challenge that I had, right, was the thyroids. Well, I mean, when I was in like high school, I started noticing I started getting excess belly fat. And then college, I gained the freshman 15, and, I'm picking up. But I noticed like I was more picking up in my stomach and my face. Like now that I look back, I pretty much had inflammation. And those are the things that shows up that happens for someone who has thyroid, hypothyroidism. So I didn't know that then. But when it started to get overboard. I was this is not too long after the Navy situation. It took me a few years, like 3 years, because I didn't, when the Navy didn't work out, I remember saying, okay, I didn't do all this for nothing. Something's going to come out of it. And that's what ignited my fitness journey and getting into being a fitness trainer. But it took me 3 years from when that happened for me to actually be like, okay, I'm going to do this as a career. So in that 3 years is
Mm-hmm.
where, like I said, I started working out, when you start kind of getting healthier, you're like I said, your hormones start to work, and you start actually feeling it, some of your symptoms. So that's when the thyroids and the symptoms started to really like sprout. Like my hair just
Mm-hmm.
fell out, like it looked like someone took my hair and ripped it. I had like body acne, like it was really like my mom used to be like scared to touch it. And like I said, the weight loss, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what was going on. So that part, I didn't have the awareness, but I just started
Mm-hmm.
researching. I always wanted to do stuff natural.
Mm-hmm.
I was just always called to it. Like I remember being in college getting those Chinese medicine herb foot patches. Like I was just always called to it for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. But the
Yeah.
doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. So when you keep getting that frustration, when you feel like something's wrong manifesting in your body, but then the doctor's saying nothing's wrong with you, but you feel this,
Mm-hmm.
you're just eager to search. So I wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
coach or anything yet, but that's when I started to just research, look on YouTube, asking questions, people. And I don't really remember at this time, because this is probably like a good 13 years ago or so. um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I do remember just kind of looking and researching, and learning about, green juices and wheatgrass, and, taking out dairy out of it. Like that's when I finally was like, okay, maybe it is what I eat. So dairy was the first one I started to pull out. And then I just started noticing I'm feeling better, and I just kind of went on my journey. In that process, then I got into fitness, became the fitness trainer, and then started getting educated, being around more of the people. And what made me start going down the certifications was me still trying to figure out what was going on with my body, then having the chronic pain, the loss of the loved one at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me really ask more questions and wanted to dig deeper. And I feel like when you ask questions enough, the universe starts to open things up to you. And that's kind of how my journey happened.
And I think that's so important because often it can be so frustrating, like when you're going to
Uh-huh.
the doctors and you're being told that everything is normal. And sometimes, like, I don't know, from my experience, I started at one point thinking that I might be crazy. um, but for people out there who are going through these things, like, don't
Mm-hmm.
give up. You know that something is going on. Just keep trying to find the answer for you and doing what you can do on as an individual, cutting out certain things and seeing if that might be the problem. So thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us how you got the name Gut Health Bestie?
Oh, good question. So, when I started really realizing that, like 70%, 80% of our immune systems, our hormones, lives in our gut, right? And it communicates to our brain. I always say your gut is your second brain, and it communicates to our brain to, basically send data and wire us and get us to function and do things and crave, say I'm hungry or crave certain foods when you didn't have enough nutrients or minerals or whatever. So when I started kind of putting those pieces together and I started understanding gut health is like the root, like it's the gut health is like, I always say it's our ecosystem, it's the garden. I just started talking about that and sharing and educating about gut health. And I had someone tell me, she was like, "Man, like you really know this gut health stuff. Like you're like my gut health bestie, you know." And I ended up doing like a summit series, and it was a few of us who was partnered together, and we introduced each other, and that's what she was like. She's literally like, our gut health bestie, y'all, like the gut health bestie for Black women, because I never heard nobody break it down. Like she knew she was into wellness, and she was like, I haven't heard anybody kind of break it down that is digestible, pun intended, for me to get it.
Yeah.
And it just started to become a thing, like just like when people was calling me their trainer years before I became a trainer. I definitely didn't miss that sign when someone said like, I'm your gut health bestie, and that just became a thing.
Thanks for joining us today with special guest Lauren Wells. And if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button for new content every 2 weeks. Also, be sure to visit my website, awakentoyourpassion.com, for access to more resources. So can you tell us a little bit about the intuitive healer part of it? What's your process like? How do you help people through that? Like you said, with gut health, but also helping to balance the hormones and align the vibration energy with chakra.
Yeah. So when I went through my journey, I just started kind of like, I always joke and say like, I came out the spiritual closet just this last summer of 2021. Because it's always been something that I implemented and used myself. Like I was always into, I mean, even as the science of things, like we're energetic beings, our bodies, we have a physical body, we have an energetic body. So I was always like, into that understanding, gathering an understanding of physics, and the matters of that. But I actually started using that process of healing and the chakras myself without even fully getting a full understanding on it before. So when I had the thyroid issues, and I started to realize some of the thyroid problems that people have has a lot to do with trapped energy in that area. Also too, I know, like I kind of implement astrological aspects to health, right, in like my coaching programs, because like someone who's like a Taurus, there's certain organs and different astrological aspects that are affected. So Taurus is typically like the neck, and that's where the thyroid is hold, right? So when I started learning these things and implementing that and gathering that understanding for myself, I started doing a lot of throat chakra work, because I did have a lot of, like when we have certain diseases that manifest in our body, right? It's energy trapped, right? So when I started doing my healing journey and understanding emotionally, I gathered that um, holding, like I was definitely a person that just wouldn't say nothing because I wanted to keep the peace, right? But I don't have the peace within me. So when I started learning that and I started doing throat chakra work and healing, I that was some of the things that I realized that healed my thyroid. There was actually, I used to do these
Mhm.
events here in New York. I did table events, and there was someone who taught me about chakra showers and clearing. And I started learning clearing techniques and all these things. It was such a very big pivotal point in my healing to finally piece together the actual, I guess you would say, the structure part of things. Like, like how much water we should drink, how much fruits and vegetables we should drink. Like, we know those things, but then sometimes
Mhm.
energetically we just don't feel like it or want to do it. So I found
Mhm.
that when I started to implement that with my clients, that's what made them finally start making the change, because we started to kind of, pay attention to that. And we have to understand holistically, and being the whole you and healing the whole you is a three piece. It's a mind, body, and spirit journey. So we can't just
Mhm.
pay attention
Mhm.
to the body, right? We can't just focus on the mental, like it's, the spiritual aspects, leaving religion to the sides. People could believe what they believe in religious aspects, but energetically, like I said, we have a physical body and we have an energetic body. And when I started
Mhm.
implementing that, I mean, I've had women who had trouble having a baby, able to have babies. I've had women who, with PCOS, that just wasn't getting menstrual cycles, and finally implementing like the frequency healing and things like that I did, finally getting menstrual cycles. So it's a big pivotal part
Mhm.
in my work that I do.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So, can you tell us a little bit about Hervival?
Yeah, so Hervival was birthed, well, actually, like put out in the market and birthed in early 2021 in February. And it is the
Mhm.
first all in one holistic wellness, fitness, and spirituality app and community for women of color. So I just spoke on all these different things
Mhm.
of modalities and healing for mind, body, and spirit. And I pretty much took, my own pain and my challenges that I go through, and, puzzled them together, whether it's with myself, and I also have like 5 or 6 other coaches that are there, meditation coaches,
Mhm.
plant-based chefs to teach how to cook and meal plan, pelvic floor therapist that teaches about womb wellness, um, and pelvic and
Mhm.
core, work that we need, and fitness trainers, yoga instructors. And I really pieced all the pieces together that will help women of color. I've never seen a platform or space that collectively, in an app, is able to put something together that I wish I had. And yeah, that's what, Hervival is. The mission is to transform 1,000 women from survival mode that we knew, to just that a lot of us was raised in just to get by, and to
Mhm.
transforming on a soul level and becoming, and like thriving in our life and becoming a hervivor. That's what I call my lady. So that's the
Mhm.
community and the app, and that's what Hervival is, to be able to revive your mind, body, and
That's such
spirit.
a powerful message.
Thank you.
Yeah, is it open to all
Yes, open
women
to
of
the public.
color? I wondered about the ancestral spiritual part of your work and how that maybe bring things together.
Yeah. Well, ancestral work is, quite a bit in the journey. We share and I talk about it, but I can say, I guess the ancestors and the work has came to help me on the journey, because when Hervival was birthed, I actually had reached out and hired a business coach to work on a program that I end up doing. I have a program called the Divine Alignment Program, where I'll work very closely with at least 10 women for 8 weeks and help them on their gut health and energy healing. So I was trying to come
Mm-hmm.
to her to work on that program. And as I was doing that work and, getting clarity, I got a whisper in my ear and was like, you're going to do that. I always joking, like, remember when Kanye West went up to Taylor Swift and like, yo, I'm going to let you talk, but, Beyonce's the best. It felt like that. Like, it was like, I'm going to let you do your little Divine Alignment program, but what you're going to do is you're going to rebrand, because I already had a Facebook group for a while. And it's like, you're gonna rebrand. It's
Okay.
called Her for Fur. I couldn't hear it, but I knew it was like her something. And
Yeah.
and you're actually gonna create an app for it, because there's nothing like that for women out there. And I was like, oh, what? Oh, okay. And I'm an obedient servant, so I just went with it, and just asked for the guidance along the way. I definitely needed my ancestors to help me in this process, and created it. And then
Yeah.
the funny part is the Divine Alignment program is something that's offered as an extension to the members in Hervival. So it all came together. But yeah, the ancestors definitely came through
Okay.
with the healing. But I had to, like,
That
tap into
sounds
that, open
cool.
myself to that.
Yeah. So we're coming to a wrap. Um, is there anything else that you would like to share with our guests today, with our
Um,
listeners?
yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say is, I feel like, there's so much information. The media makes things confusing. And the media is, backed with, certain, they're more about profits over people. So, from the food from the food to the medicine to the doctors, they kind of all work together in their own way, right? But I really wanted to just share
Mm-hmm.
and tell women to always, work on your healing and never feel discouraged. Like, Nick and I were just talking about the challenges of having autoimmune, and getting diagnosis and trying to figure out. Always ask for the guidance, the clarity, the people, the modality, the healing, or whatever that works for you happens to just start attracting to
Mm-hmm.
you when you allow yourself to be open to it. And never let anyone, like, even some of the things I might share may not be for someone. Use your intuition. But I can say, if you heal your gut, you have a clearer mind, and your intuition and your spiritual awakening can be a lot more sharper. So
Mm-hmm.
let your gut guide you into the healing and the whole you that you're meant to be.
Yeah. So tell our listeners how they could find you if they want to connect.
Absolutely. So I'm on all the social media platforms as Thrive with LC. That's ThriveWithL, as in Lauren, C as in cat. And that's on Clubhouse, Instagram, and I also have Hervival _ on Instagram, and we have Hervival on Facebook. But you can learn more about everything and what I have going on if you go to thrivewithlc.com.
Awesome. So thank you again for joining us, Lauren. It was great to have you with us.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me, Nick. I appreciate being here in the Awaken community.
So today's learning outcome is that different methods of healing can work for different people, and there are in fact different ways of healing and becoming whole again when you're dealing with your, whether it's autoimmune or any kind of health challenge, and to definitely follow your intuition and what feels right for you. Thanks for joining us on today's podcast. If you haven't yet done so, hit the subscribe button for new content every 2 weeks. And be sure to visit my website, awakentoyourpassion.com, for more resources. Until next time, take care.